How's it going, everybody? So in this video, I'm just going to reply as quickly as I possibly can to some of the comments on my video about Chris Kresser versus James Wilkes on the Joe Rogan Gamechangers debate. Okay, um, so let's see. I already made a video about this comment here, so I'm gonna skip that. Let's see. Neither James or Chris are a nutrition expert, as they both admit on the podcast. But Chris also does at one point mention that he has master's level education in nutrition. Regardless of how much he has had, I'm willing to bet it's more master's level nutrition education than what Wilkes has received. My biggest issue with this section of the podcast I did manage to listen to. I had to tap out after only 15 minutes, like 99% of the people watching it, unfortunately, is that James is constantly accusing Chris of misinterpreting and misrepresenting data presented in the film. My problem with making that your defense is that if someone who is clearly adept at reading and interpreting the literature and data, as Chris clearly is unable to properly interpret and apply the data you're presenting in your documentary, then what hope does the average person who watches it have at doing so? Chris and Joe are constantly pointing out to James that the way this documentary and this info is going to come across to the average person who sees it. The hell? But James seems to be working under the assumption that everyone who sees the documentary is going to understand what was being presented. Which again, if someone like Chris Kresser is misinterpreting and misrepresenting the information being presented, almost makes me think the issue is with the information, not the interpreter. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what to say to that. Yeah, I mean, the Gamechangers documentary was designed for the lay person. I mean, you had the erection experiment that, is not scientifically valid and is extremely easy to poke holes in, and is just foolish and hilarious as a joke. But, the average layperson who doesn't read scientific research is going to be on board with that, and they're going to just assume it's true. If you watch the entire podcast, I mean, James Wilkes only really discussed like 3 points. He discussed the B12 fed to livestock are supplemented, which is still debatable. But Chris Kresser, I think, gave up at that point and wasn't able to successfully debunk that. But either way, it doesn't matter. And then James Wilkes also, he successfully debunked Chris Kresser's claims that, plant protein is inferior to animal protein. And they had a really good kind of dialogue going back and forth about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich compared to like a 3-ounce steak. And basically, James Wilkes just wanted to set the record straight that a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with just the right amount of peanut butter on it has more protein than a 3 ounce of steak, with the bread included. And so he successfully defended his point that a peanut butter and jelly sandwich had just as much protein as a 3-ounce steak. That was fucking hilarious. Most of the points in the video were really just like, didn't really matter. It was just James Wilkes, like, I don't know, like getting his aggression out at Chris Kresser. Now that I think back about it, yeah, like, okay, they spent a whole hour debating how much protein is in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich compared to a 3-ounce steak. There's a reason why people quit watching it and didn't like James Wilkes, because the only points he really made that like he made himself were stupid. And then he was saying, since livestock are supplemented with B12, that you might as well just take a B12 supplement. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but either way, get your B12. And if you can tolerate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a lot of people have digestive problems from them. And that's how you want to get your protein, then you should be getting the same amount of protein compared to a 3-ounce steak. And then everything else was like, you're not in alignment with the consensus, the American Heart Association, but don't appeal to authority, because that's a fallacy. but the general consensus in the American Heart Association is just stupid. All right, so next comment I got. The militant vegan. Cry me a river, soy boy. James Wilkes destroyed that zombie, Chris Kresser, and now your feelings are hurt. Okay, like, I never know how to respond to these types of comments because I don't care whose feelings are hurt. I don't care, okay? I don't really have any like emotional attachment to any of this. I don't care. I'm just kind of like sharing my thoughts on things. And, I actually admitted that James Wilkes destroyed Chris Kresser in the original video. And whether they just, the point I was trying to make is that, the way James Wilkes was constantly like being disrespectful, that's no way to have to defend your position. 99% of the people watching that debate turned it off because of James Wilkes' aggression and his attitude and the way he was talking. No one wanted to see that. Look at the comments in the Joe Rogan section. No intelligent, competent human being with an important life is going to want to watch that. They're not going to have time for that. They're going to feel like it's a waste of time. And the only exception to that are people like me who really want to like see, is he going to make some points? And also the character James Wilkes, does it seem like a credible source of information? But really, the majority of the people who watched the entire thing and weren't put off by James Wilkes' attitude were vegans who were looking for confirmation bias. 99% of the people didn't watch it because of James Wilkes' attitude. If stating that fact is my feelings being hurt, then I'm fine with that, I guess. And obviously, this person is a vegan, so I don't know why he's using soy boy as an insult. I think that's really funny. And I just informed him I cannot digest soybeans because I just can't. And then somehow, I don't know why he said this, but I'm still a soy boy. Imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. I'm a soy boy who can't digest soybeans. And you're a militant vegan, you say. That's your username. Who thinks eating soy is an insult. It must be a 14-year-old Call of Duty nerd. I don't have a clue. But like whenever I see comments like this, like the only thing that really like hurts my feelings is that there's human beings on this planet who will waste like 5 minutes of their day to write comments that don't mean shit. But I guess like it's kind of like when you have a sports team that you really want to win, you tell your friends, yeah, the Cowboys, and then like, whatever football team you like, the Cowboys beat the 69ers, and you go to all your friends who are 69er fans and you like freak out at them. It's tribalism. It's not logical debate. It's really foolish. He did an amazing job. Kresser deserved everything he got. Millions of people listen to Chris and Joe every time they spout lies. This was time to put them in their place. Yes, he was emotional, but it's completely understandable. That's probably like the best of the vegan comments on here. I don't have a problem with this because it actually is a opinion. It's articulated intelligently. It has no intention of injuring my ego or something or boosting his. It's just his opinion. And I can kind of agree with this, although I just think that James Wilkes should have thought more about how he was being perceived. Look, do you know how many people have like left comments on this video? Just stupid ass comments trying to debunk my video. Would it make sense for me to go on my video and just be like, oh, all these people are, you are just a random person on the internet. Y'all make no sense. You're brain dead vegans, blah, 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 freaking out. No, everyone who sees that video are going to think that I have something wrong with me. The same thing goes for anyone who doesn't know how to take criticism. Vegan Gains, and his old videos where he just like freaked out at people. does it make sense for me to like go on my video and then lash out at someone else, or have a live debate with someone and lash out at them when we're trying to discuss tangible logical points? It just doesn't. If I'm trying to clear my name of criticism, believe me, the last thing I want to do is act like a complete asshole. Calling names, freaking out, looking like I'm on cocaine. That was like half of Joe Rogan's comments. Like, you've got to be a very irrational person to think that like the way James Wilkes acted on Joe Rogan's podcast was rational and justified. Like, okay, so hundreds of people have made videos criticizing my film. Well, that gives me the right to go on Joe Rogan's podcast with one of my criticizers and just freak out at him, just have no like self-control, no like no control over my reaction and my emotion. I'm not able to just articulate myself in a professional fashion. I'm a combat instructor, so it makes sense. No, that doesn't make any sense. You want to clear your name. You want to persuade Joe Rogan's audience in your favor. Don't act like an asshole. Present the facts. Let the facts speak for themselves. That's part of why so many people, like I think Vegan Gains could have persuaded like hundreds of thousands of more people to go vegan with his debates, because he had really good facts that I like to tune into, but now I'm able to debunk most of them. But his attitude and the way he debated people turned so many people off. And so, yeah, shock value was more in Vegan Gains' favor, though, the way he like did the skits and things. This debate, there was no place for that attitude. It just ruined it. It just ruined the intention. If you're going to go on to a podcast and you're going to try to clear your name with that kind of attitude, then 99% of Joe Rogan's audience doesn't want to listen to it because of your attitude. Did you succeed at clearing your name? Or, did you actually make yourself look even worse? Think about all those people, like 99% of the comments, oh, I couldn't watch it past the 20-minute mark because of James Wilkes' attitude. They're just going to assume James Wilkes is full of shit. So he because he did win after about an hour of looking like an asshole. And then Chris Kresser just gave up. He realized he can't have a civilized debate. And then James Wilkes put the facts on him. And James Wilkes won, but most people watching it weren't able to find that out because of his attitude. So it doesn't matter what you think. He failed at defending his position. His facts were good. He won factually, but his attitude made it so that it doesn't even matter. There were many people said, I don't even care if James Wilkes is right or wrong. His attitude makes me not want to, stand with him in his purpose. And now this guy, man, if you watch the vegan carburetor, guy sounds like he's schizophrenic, and he's supposedly been on a fruitarian diet for 20 years, and it shows. Listen to the guy talk. He just like rambles on and randomly like laughs randomly, like he really sounds schizophrenic, and that actually is a very common trait amongst a lot of these long-term fruit eaters. Look at Durian Rider. They sound like meth addicts. Or just people with schizophrenia, because, and most of them don't believe in supplementing with B12, and their nervous system is obviously, there's something wrong. Anyway, vegan carburetor. Wow, so much I need to comment on. Something is causing erection problems. Okay. I can verify that that's definitely, meat has never fucked my erections, ever. But chronic overdoses of candy, of Monster energy drink, and over masturbation. Back in the day, before I started practicing NoFap, when I was drinking 4 packs of Monster energy drinks a day and just eating candy bars like crazy, I jacked off like literally 20 or 30 times a day, but couldn't get it up during actual sex. That diet was horribly shitty. Surprised I could even jack off that much. And now that I eat, mostly red meat, and I've added a lot more plants back in, meat has never fucked my erections up. And since I practice NoFap, it is very sensitive, especially if you throw some ginger root in there. But when I was vegan for 1 year, my dick worked fine, but my sexual desire went away completely. And that was even though I was eating in a caloric surplus and taking all the supplements properly. So yeah, I don't know about that whole erection thing. It's mostly with meat. Something's causing erection problems. It's mostly with meat eaters. It's funny because there's actually so many people, so many ex-vegans typically doing a raw vegan diet or a fruitarian diet like this guy who claim their sex drive went away completely. So yeah, that's delusional. Both meat, a lot of people eating the standard American diet have erection problems, and they eat meat, but it's not the same diet as I'm eating. And there's evidence linking high meat as a factor. Ooh, wow. Yeah. I'm 50 and my erection function is as good as ever. See my FAP addiction videos. That has nothing to do with my video, except for maybe my little comments on they didn't even discuss the erection thing in the video. So, and then this guy claims he only watched like 20 minutes of the debate or whatever. So I don't know why you're even commenting. You haven't even seen the actual debate. I just said until we have studies comparing, like steak and veg diets to, high quality vegan diets, then, I don't care what you have to say, basically. Then I told him I have videos pointing that out. Then he said, if you had problems with your microbiome, then it's not veganism's fault. You could have fixed that. SIBO tests, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so problems with the gut microbiome, I don't know if I've ever blamed veganism, but eating a vegan diet made it the worst it ever was. I noticed the more grains, nuts and seeds and beans that I ate, the worse it got. And then when I did an autoimmune paleo diet, just eating, fruits, cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, and fresh meat, that problem went away completely. Could have done Goji Man's tests and used berberine or some crap. I mean, I tried probiotics, enzymes. I tried soaking things, making congee. You would not believe all of the things I tried to make veganism work. It was horrible. I'm not like these other ex-vegans who ate a raw vegan diet and did a juice fast and almost died. Okay, I actually did everything right, following a whole foods, plant-based, starch-based diet, supplementing properly, reading Michael Greger, and everything else. So I don't really care, honestly. My whole thing is I just want to feel healthy, and the way I'm eating made me feel healthier than I ever have. So why the fuck would I fix my microbiome just to be vegan if all that money and effort that I've already tried for a whole fucking year never really turned out good for me? It's like, oh, just do it. Do whatever you can to be on his tribe, his team. So along with Joe and Chris, you also did not understand James' point. Chris conflated the percentages, then put quotes around it to further manipulate the reader. That's it. Look, he didn't conflate the percentages. So basically the claim was dairy significantly increases your risk of prostate cancer. And what Chris did is he showed meta-analysis that basically showed there was a 20% decreased risk of colon cancer with dairy. And then there was like a 50%, there was a 50% of the people had no change, 20% of the people had a decreased risk of prostate cancer, and then 20% of the people had an increased risk of prostate cancer. He just combined the people who had no change and the people who had a decreased risk and said, 70% of people. He just combined the two. He combined the people who had a decreased risk and the people who had no risk, because the majority of people in that meta-analysis, they showed that there was no relationship between prostate cancer and dairy consumption, because 70% of the people had either a decreased risk or no risk at all. Okay, and then there's only 20% of the people who had an increased risk. So, if the majority of the people either had no increased risk of prostate cancer with dairy consumption or a decreased risk of cancer, that tells you that, you know, it's probably not the dairy, you know, considering its correlation, right? These studies can prove correlation. There's no correlation in that study. So it doesn't matter how you present the statistics. The point was that there's no significant correlation because so many people had no relationship, no increased risk, no risk at all, like no change in risk. And then, 20%, like a quarter of the people had decreased risk. So the fuck, that was just so stupid to spend so much time on. I don't know if this guy understands it, especially considering if you watch his videos, it seems like his mind doesn't work very well. I think most vegans who actually understand the science would agree that that was a dumb point. I mean, James Wilkes did win on better points. And according to this guy, he only watched the first 20 minutes anyway. So this is all he saw. It's a dumbass thing to really bring up. I don't give a fuck about that. It's just stupid. James Wilkes didn't even bring up any counter evidence. So I don't really care. I don't even eat dairy. So fuck it. Many humans ate meat for possibly 1 million plus years. But humans are still biologically herbivores, frugivores. Done, son. That makes no sense. So you're telling me that human beings who have a stomach pH, healthy humans, not people who have alkalized their stomach using antacid medications and have H. pylori and things, but the average healthy human actually has a stomach pH of something like 1 to 2 or something. And that's highly acidic. There's been many studies that have actually compared the acidity of a human stomach to that of a highly carnivorous animal like a wolf or a fox. I think it was a hyena, actually. Like we have the pH, the stomach pH of a scavenger animal. So that right there tells you we've made adaptations. Frugivores don't have a pH. I think their stomach pH is like 4 to 6 or something, but I don't know. So, and then of course, I believe our large intestine is the same size as a carnivorous animal. And there's quite a few other adaptations. I mean, biologically, our brains did develop to be able to use stone tools. We've actually found that this adaptation was the reason why we were able to hunt big game animals. The thousands and thousands of skeletons of animals in museums that humans have actually hunted to extinction. Like it should tell you how the fuck did humans become such amazing hunters to drive thousands and thousands of species to extinction, filling up hundreds and hundreds of museums. It's been proven humans did that it was humans. And somehow like we're not like adapted to eating animals. That whole thing makes no sense. Deserves a whole nother video, but this guy doesn't deserve any exposure. There's a reason why so many people don't subscribe to him. He only has like 3,000 subscribers. I saw on Social Blade, and he's been making videos since 2008. So, the study James Wilkes presents about vegans getting sources of B12 from unwashed vegetables is below. Go to page 2, fecal contamination of B12 sources for vegans. If you do read it, you will see it says that vegetables were grown in night soil, basically human shit, and eaten unwashed. If you want to eat your and other people's shit, mate, you go ahead. I'm going to eat some shellfish, thanks, you smug prick. Honestly, vegans. Yeah, that was one of the debates. That was one of the points that people brought up after the debate was that the majority of livestock actually are not supplemented with B12. And they have proof of it. But more importantly was that this idea that we should be able to get B12 from fruits and vegetables. The only way we can get B12 from fruits and vegetables is if it was shitted on by humans or just shat on in general, and we ate the shit with the fruit and vegetable unwashed. But do you know how many people have gotten salmonella and whatnot from eating fruits and vegetables, presumably washed? I mean, that's not an argument in and of itself because people have done that with animals too. But still, this it's just so much like overthinking of stupid points. If you want to be vegan and get B12, I would recommend you take a supplement, not eat, unwashed fruits and vegetables. If you want to eat animals, and you feel like your health is much better, like I do, it doesn't matter if they're supplemented with B12 or not. I don't fucking think so. I still take right now, I've been experimenting with the multivitamin, but before, I haven't taken B12 or multivitamin for most of my entire life, besides small experiments. So, Chris Kimball, I'm only 3 minutes in, and there is already so much wrong with what you're saying in regards to your claim that Wilkes committed the logical fallacy of appealing to authority. Yeah, over and over again. The American Heart Association is an authority. The American Dietetics Association is an authority. And that's not an argument. But the evidence that they base their consensus on is something to discuss and can be used as an argument. But that requires critical analysis, which James Wilkes, a guy who claims to have done, now he says 3,000 hours of research, can't discuss the evidence that he's researched somehow. Really fascinating how you made a film based on science, supposedly, but you can't discuss the science with someone you claim is only an acupuncturist. Like, okay, says a lot about your knowledge of the science. Pointing at reputable sources to bolster his claims is not appealing to authority. Remember, a fallacy is an error in reasoning. Dismissing the counsel of legitimate experts and authorities turns good skepticism into denialism. That's fucking stupid. The appeal to authority is a fallacy in argumentation, but deferring to an authority is a reliable, heuristic approach. It's not at all unreasonable, blah, blah, blah. It's not unreasonable to accept information as true by credible authorities. Okay, guy. Well, all right. So for hundreds of years, the authorities thought bloodletting was a good way to treat the flu, to treat everything from food sickness to the flu to viruses. And what about shock therapy? So you believe that it was a good idea, that it was totally reasonable to use electric shock therapy for people with depression and mental illnesses for so long because the authority council recommended it. Yeah, that's why it's appeal to authority and why it's not an argument. You're a fuck. You're a fuck. You're a dumbass. Straight up. Fucking dumbass, okay? Straight up. And that's exactly what I said. He appealed to authority almost every point he made. Like, he kept saying, oh, the American Heart Association, blah, blah, blah. Look, the American Heart Association was paid off by the sugar industry back in the 60s. We have documented proof of this. Okay? So that authority is paid off. Okay? Most authorities are paid off. And that was actually an argument that James Wilkes made the entire time. Oh, most research is industry funded. Yeah, so is the American Heart Association. But it's reasonable to appeal to the authority that agrees with you, right? It's not reasonable to actually discuss the evidence that Chris Kresser was bringing up or to present some evidence of your own to back up your claims. I'd rather appeal to the authorities, thank you very much, that are paid off by big sugar or whatever. Industry-funded research should be thrown out. Fucking retarded. And then I said that the general consensus is an authority. Let's discuss the actual studies. Keep in mind, bloodletting was part of the medical consensus for hundreds of years. Does it make it right? And instead of responding, and then also there actually are multiple consensuses depending on the group of experts you talk to. Is it the consensus from the American Heart Association paid off by the sugar industry? Or is it the general consensus from the, Sean Baker or not from Sean Baker, but from the British Medical Journal or the, whatever, right? There are no experts recommending a low carb diet, right? Whatever. This guy says, it seems as though you didn't really understand what I said, and now I question whether you even watched the debate or not. Wilkes went into great length explaining several studies and was able to explain the implication of them. Like, yeah, this guy is choosing delusion over actual like facts. I don't care if you disagree with me, but if you're just into denial, like, oh, appealing to the American Heart Association is not appeal to authority, it's reasonable. And then me just, it's logical. My debate's pretty damn logical, my argument. Bloodletting was part of the general consensus. And then he's just like, oh shit, he's got me. It's time to act like I don't even understand his comment. Fucking dumbass. Yeah. Fucking got you, proved you wrong, and now you're just like, oh, I don't even know if you watched the debate. Oh, he presented some studies, but I can't even give an example of what studies he presented because you probably don't even understand what the fuck you're talking about. And I just said, it seems like I disagree with you, and it sounds like you're searching for explanations to justify your disbelief that someone can disagree with you. Because nothing he says makes sense. He just seems like he wants to believe what he wants to believe. And then he just asked me what, because he just doesn't want to question his own beliefs. It's a really weird thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, right? I don't fucking think so. Like, I don't care if like, maybe veganism's right, maybe meat-based diet's right, whatever. I don't care. What I care about is, does your reason for believing in your position make fucking sense? Okay, and if you're just, oh, I believe in veganism because the American Medical Association believes in veganism, then I think you're a fool. Let's see, Chris Kimball. I like, like some, never mind, I'm not even going to go there. I like how you have a problem with Wilkes pointing out that Kresser isn't a nutrition expert, even when Chris blatantly says he's not. But you don't have an issue with the self-proclaimed non-expert making money, giving nutrition advice, or being platformed by a dude that's sure to give this non-expert a shit ton of credibility and views. You also, look, I don't have a fucking problem with someone and what they call themselves, if they're a nutrition expert or not. Okay, Chris Kresser has an actual degree that's accepted as a primary care physician in California. He's on the board of directors of a functional medicine clinic. And his information is solid. He eats mostly a plant-based diet. He promotes personalized nutrition. So I don't have a problem with him like offering services to people, especially considering his track record of helping people. You also don't seem to have an issue that Chris Kresser doesn't know how to completely synthesize data because of a forest plot, blah, blah, blah. The forest plot thing, yeah, sure, maybe, he should know what a forest plot is. But is that really that big of a deal to completely like, oh, don't ever listen to him because you know what the forest plot is? Because there's plenty of scientists out there that are well-versed in most forms of research and most graphs and things, but they may not know what the hell a forest plot is. Doesn't mean that all of their information is bullshit. I'm sure this guy didn't know what a forest plot was. I'm sure this guy still doesn't know what a forest plot is. Yeah, he's just arguing with me because he wants to eat peas. Don't have a problem that Chris Kresser makes up stats. He didn't make up fucking stats, okay? The problem is you don't understand why he made up those stats in the first place. Because the general consensus on what low carb is like 100 grams of carbs. Physiologically, that's retarded because a true low carb diet amongst people who actually follow a low carb diet, they all agree it's 50 grams or less, and you don't actually enter ketosis until you reach that point. And usually people don't reach ketosis until they reach 20 or less. People eating a diet with carbohydrates below 50 grams, their entire metabolism switches over. They start to they can actually convert free fatty acids and the glycerol backbone of triglycerides into energy to produce glycogen. They can produce glycogen from amino acids, but fatty acids and triglycerides take over at a certain point. They'll produce more ketones, which have physiologically significant relevance and an impact, a significant physiological impact on your entire metabolism. It's not the fucking same thing. But people like you who don't even research this shit are obviously, you're not going to research it. You don't fucking know. You're just parroting crap that you fucking heard from James Wilkes. That's literally what's going on here. It's clear to me that he's just doesn't, he might have watched a vegan video, not even watched a debate, and he's just like repeating this crap. He probably watched Happy Healthy Vegans video or something and doesn't know what any of the shit is, and he's just repeating it on the internet because, you know, it makes him feel smart. I don't know. He doesn't realize that there is a scientific consensus for what constitute a high, medium, and look, for the purpose in that article of what a low-carb diet is, Chris defined it in that way. Okay? It has nothing to do with his points in the Gamechangers movie. Just stupid. This debate was indeed a joke, yeah, but your interpretation of it is just plain sad. Well, it's because you don't understand jack shit about what you mentioned and don't understand what I was talking about. Plus, that was just a really quick response video anyway. So yeah, I didn't really put enough thought into it anyway. And I didn't even see these comments yet. Chrisser has a license to work as a primary care provider and give nutritional advice. Wilk doesn't. That is a fact. As an acupuncturist, not a nutritionist. Okay, but acupuncturists, they go hand in hand with Chinese medicine doctors. The same thing. I have a friend who's actually got a master's degree in Chinese medicine. They run a clinic. They prescribe herbs, nutritional recommendations, the whole slew of things. If you've seen their textbook, it's, you know, and either way, a medical doctor, you know, many people think medical doctors are credible enough to prescribe nutrition advice, but their entire degree program is centered around prescribing drugs. They don't even learn nutrition, but people like this guy probably think that it's valid. Your lies and stupidity will kill you, your friends, and your family in the end. You know what? You remember the movie where they coined the phrase, you can't handle the truth? Yeah, exactly. You. Stop your BS. Get James to debate you. Like James would ever fucking debate someone like me. Really. This is just funny. Get James to debate you if you are so right with your science. And if you are up to his level of preparedness and the research he has done. Otherwise, just shut the hell up. Damn, this guy sounds really mad. Can you believe he wrote such a large paragraph on a video he doesn't agree with? Do you know who Kresser is? He's been called one of the best minds on health and nutrition out there. Maybe not exactly in these words, but something close. Honestly, that's weird. That's the reason Joe kept asking him to appear on a show. Really, all these good-for-nothing debunkers should stop. So this guy thinks that Chris Kresser is one of the best minds in health and nutrition. That's really weird. I think Kresser has a lot of very solid information, but I by no means would call him one of the best minds on health and nutrition. So this guy, Mohin Pat, must really love Kresser. This is really weird. Really, all these good-for-nothing debunkers should stop coming out with new videos and bashing. Look, that's stupid, man. Like when you make a film or a documentary, you're going to have criticism, okay? You can have a problem with that all you want, but at the end of the day, this is just the way the world works. Either learn how to deal with criticism or continue being butthurt. That's all there is to it. I could say the same thing about you. You know, really, all these good-for-nothing debunkers like you leaving this long-ass comment on my video should just like stop coming out with comments and stop bashing me and all that crap, right? Like, you should stop commenting on my video then. It's the same thing as people criticizing documentaries, only there's more money put into that. Ever wonder where all that money comes from? You ever wonder if maybe they're looking to make a fucking profit off the documentary, and maybe that's why there's no documentaries about just eating a balanced, healthy diet and exercising? No, they have to make a documentary about plant-based diets, the benefits of pea protein versus animal protein, because they want to make a profit for their companies. Fucking duh. Since it was released on Netflix, there hasn't been a day that goes by without someone putting a debunking video out. Yeah, and guess what? That just makes more people want to watch the fucking Gamechangers. It benefits the producer, stupid. In so many different languages. I think by now, There are at least 60 to 70 videos going on, hammering every single detail in the documentary. Damn, this guy sounds like he's extremely bothered. Like it's driving him crazy. Just goes on to show you how insecure you guys are. Wow. So threatened by this one. Well, you're threatened by all this criticism. It sounds like it's driving you crazy. Not a single day goes by without me seeing a Gamechangers debunking. Stop your BS. Get James or his health consultants to talk to you live. Yeah, that's a smart fucking idea. I'm going to call him on the phone right now. That's actually going to be my comment. Like he wanted in the debate with Chris and Joe. Oh shit. Hot. Got James on the phone right now. Subscribe to catch our debate. Thanks for this amazing opportunity and the idea. What a dumbass. Yeah, like James is really gonna like do this. Chris should not have been on the podcast at all. I agree with you. I kind of agree with this comment to an extent. Let's see. Plant-based opponents' contradictions. Plant-based documentaries. And by the way, I'm running out of time. I got to get to work in like 10 minutes. So plant-based documentaries are biased because they only use plant-based experts. Why would low-carb experts want to be interviewed for a plant-based documentary? Carbs make you fat. Vegans look way too skinny. Okay, so plant-based documentaries are biased because they only use plant-based experts. No, actually, plant-based documentaries are biased, so they get other people on board with their documentary who promote their bias. Everyone is biased, and generally we associate ourselves with other people who are on the same mission as us. That is why plant-based documentaries want plant-based experts on their panel. Okay, fucking duh. That's how everyone is. That's just the way that everyone is. Okay? Someone who's on the same path as you, you align yourself with them. Duh. Why would low-carb experts want to be interviewed for a plant-based documentary? Yeah, good fucking question. Sounds like you didn't actually understand what the fuck I said. James Wilkes lied about interviewing Rob Wolf and Lauren Cordain. They're the founders of the paleo movement. James Wilkes said humans are herbivores, and we actually invited Rob Wolf and Lauren Cordain into the studio to interview them for the movie, and our expert anthropologists laughed in their faces because they thought that humans were, evolved for millions of years on eating meat. Okay, so that's obviously a fucking lie. My point was, why the fuck would a plant-based documentary who has nothing but plant-based athletes and vegan doctors on their documentary, why would they randomly call in the founders of the paleo diet to be featured in their film? And why would they even want to be associated with a movie like that? My point is James Wilkes was fucking lying, and he never called Rob Wolf and Lauren Cordain on to be interviewed. And this guy didn't understand what the fuck I said. Then carbs make you fat. Vegans look way too skinny. Look, I don't think carbs make you fat necessarily. I think that carbs can make people fat is what I think. Vegans look way too skinny. Most of them do, in my opinion. And then there's just a bunch more fucking comments. I guess I'm almost done, so I'll try to finish them. Worse than vegan gains. I would bet a ton of money on Saladino not getting anywhere close to Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan seems to regret spreading the carnivore diet and really is willing to curb that movement by making himself look more balanced. That might be true. Saladino honestly is just a weird wannabe who's trying to ride the wave. I don't know why you think Saladino is a wannabe. I think that, he's obviously eating the carnivore diet. He's probably the only good advocate of the carnivore diet that there is. He's the only one who could back his shit up with science. He did a debate with Lane Norton where he completely destroyed Lane Norton. If there's any hope for the carnivore diet and people actually understanding why it works so well for so many people, it's Paul Saladino, just because of his scientific literacy. And this random ass fucking guy. Wilkes literally said he didn't want to debate this alone. He continually reminded viewers that he's not a nutritionist and even said that the debate should be between two dietitians. Look, that's cool because James Wilkes did a horrible job of communicating to people. Oh God, he did a great job of proving his point with the facts. If I did all that research and made a film and some person who doesn't know what they're talking about tries to debunk it, of course I'd get pissed. If you're going to trash my work, you deserve to be embarrassed. Chris Kresser's lost his credibility. Okay, I agree. Chris Kresser lost the debate, especially towards the end. But again, it's fucking stupid to excuse the way James Wilkes acted on that podcast because his whole intention was to persuade Joe's audience and to clear his name of the criticism. But instead, 99% of the people, even the people who were on board with his facts, didn't want to fucking see it and felt like James Wilkes completely fucked himself and embarrassed himself with his attitude. I mean, how many people like me right now? I'm responding to criticism. Am I acting like an asshole? Well, I don't know. I'm not angry and pissed like he was, but I might be an asshole. I don't know. Point is, it's a horrible way to conduct yourself, and you know how there's millions of people who take criticism on a daily basis and don't act that way. So that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not quite possible to evaluate the quality of Wilkes' research because of him jumping at people and blobbing all around for getting to the point instead of laying out the information in a presentable way. It was just super frustrating and confusing to watch Chris being bullied and Rogan condoning it. And that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly right. His attitude had nothing to do with the facts. Stop blaming it for your butthurt. I'm not fucking butthurt, fucker. I'm just saying he kind of like his intention was to clear his name of the criticism. So yeah, not very good way of doing that with all that craziness, with all his attitude. Facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, exactly. So why the fuck didn't James Wilkes just debate the facts instead of expressing, going all crazy with his feelings like a little girl? That was really sad. Thank you. You're the first to debate it. Blah blah blah. Good. Thank you. Roll on the floor laughing. We're watching the same debate. James annihilated Chris. It was superb. Try again, buddy. Yeah, stupid. All right, I got to get to work. I only have like 5 minutes. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. Honestly, no one gives a shit about what's right or what's wrong. All people care about is if their tribe wins at the end of the day. It's fucking sad. But I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can, promoting the truth as I see fit. And that's all we can really do at the end of the day. But most of these vegan carborator motherfuckers, who cares? I don't know. But if you present me good arguments, then I'll agree with you. Let me know what you guys think down below. Talk to y'all later.